set to be Thomas Tuchel. Thomas Tuchel. Now this was a video I was definitely not expecting to be making. I was going to make a video talking about some of the international football results, but to be honest, I'm quite happy that this news came out because it gives me something a bit more interesting to talk about. So I'm going to give my thoughts. Of course, I'm an England fan, so I'm going to give my thoughts as an England fan, but also as a Chelsea fan as well. I feel like I am very, very well versed in telling you how Thomas Tuchel's going to set up, what to expect from Tuchel, and yeah, I'm going to give my overall reaction first, and then we'll get into sort of the other things like what to expect, and we'll talk a bit about maybe some of the winners and losers in terms of the player side, and how well I think Tuchel will do. But in terms of my initial reaction, I was absolutely shocked. I really, really did not see this coming. Like most of you, I'm not sure many people actually expected us to go ahead and get Thomas Tuchel, because I think most of us thought we were going to get, a Lee Carsley or someone of that nature, someone a bit of a lower end, not a big reputation manager like Thomas Tuchel is. So the fact we've got him is insane. It's absolutely insane, and I think, if anything, the fact that they've gone for Tuchel, the FA, shows their intent. The FA clearly now are in a bit of a win now state of mind. They want to win the next World Cup or the next Euros. That's their aim, rightfully so, because we have now a group of players who are going to be in their peaks when they play these World Cups and Euros coming up. So this is our best chance to do so, and I think them sounding out Tuchel, apparently they wanted Guardiola as well, is them saying, we want to now. Southgate was a bit more of a rebuild manager. Now we're like, okay, we want to win and we need to win. So I'm happy to see that. And overall, I am actually really happy. I'm really, really happy about this. First, because on a personal note, Thomas Tuchel was one of my favourite Chelsea managers in recent years. Absolutely adored him. I was devastated when he left us. So for him to now be managing my country, I mean, it's fantastic, right? It's a win-win. But I'm also very excited because Thomas Tuchel is also a very, very good manager. He's extremely talented. He is also a manager who has won stuff and has a good record in cup competitions. So overall, very, very happy, and I'm excited to see what happens here. Now, personally, I was also quite shocked that he didn't go for an English manager. I was quite shocked about it. I thought that was sort of a route they were going to go down after the success of Gareth Southgate. And we'll go into a bit more in terms of, that whole German aspect in a little second. But now I really want to talk about what to expect and what I, as a Chelsea fan who watched Thomas Tuchel's Chelsea for a couple years in depth, know about Thomas Tuchel from his time at Chelsea, but also his time at Bayern Munich as well. And what I am expecting from Tuchel. Now, I think the main sort of overarching thing about Tuchel is he's a very pragmatic manager. He is a very pragmatic manager who adapts his style depending on what he has at his disposal. And that is why I think, even though, it's a bit risky in terms of he's never managed in international football before, I do actually think Thomas Tuchel is a manager who probably should transition very well into international football because of his pragmatic nature. He's not someone like Pep Guardiola who has one way of playing, one philosophy, and it's going to take a bit of time to drill that into players. Quite frankly, at international level, you can't really do that. Now, I spoke about this before when I made the video about who I wanted as England manager. I spoke about basically in international football, you look at all of the teams who have been successful in the last couple tournaments. They have a manager who can coach a basic press. They're not too gun ho but also not too like defensive. They sort of just like they press a bit, but not too much. They're a bit expansive on the ball, but not too much. They have like basic patterns to build out of the back, but again, when they get in the attacking third, a lot of freedom. You know, think Spain, they weren't necessarily playing the most tiki-taka football ever, but they were sort of a mix between that and pragmatism. I think Thomas Tuchel's style, particularly at Chelsea, is exactly that. He was somebody who sort of adapted his style in terms of who we were playing. When we were playing a bigger size like Manchester City, we would always be a bit more pragmatic. We would be defensive, we would sit back, we would counter-attack. When we play those smaller sides, we would, you know, go on the front foot a bit more. He is also very fluid in terms of his formation. Chelsea played a 5 at the back system. Dortmund, PSG, Bayern played a 4 at the back system. So extremely fluid in terms of that formation aspect and how he sets up his team, which is also going to make it a bit interesting because I don't actually know what formation exactly he's going to play. What I can tell you is though that overall there's going to be basically the main element is control possession. Well, it's either going to be one or two ways. Games where we're just going to control the possession and try to get wide overloads. That was sort of what we did at Chelsea, with relative freedom in the final third. He doesn't really give too many instructions there. And then when we play the bigger size, sit back and counter-attack them and look to exploit those spaces. So I think that actually sets up pretty well for tournament football. He also, of course, has an amazing impact in knockout competitions. In the Champions League, Thomas Tuchel's record is superb. Obviously, got to the Champions League final with PSG, got sacked year after joins Chelsea, wins the Champions League with them. Then the following year, narrowly lost out to Real Madrid in the Champions League that year. Very unfortunate not to win that. Last year, even with Bayern, they were really poor in the league, but still, people forget he was a Hosselu minute away from knocking out Real Madrid and making it to the final of the Champions League last season. So, yeah, he is extremely good in cup competitions now. Of course, a World Cup, a Euros is slightly different to Champions League, but still the premise is the same in terms of those knockout one-off games. Thomas Tuchel does pretty well in. What I will say though is we should be happy and we should be excited as England fans, but we should not be expecting or be excited to see some swashbuckling tiki-taka football. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. Now, I mean, it could, like, no, I'm not saying Thomas Tuchel plays rubbish football, but Thomas Tuchel doesn't really play, like, free-flowing, amazing football. At Chelsea, we never really played like that. Of course, we had moments like that, we had games like that, but most of the time it was quite, like, slow, I would say, and it was more about effectiveness rather than entertainment. So yeah, and same sort of thing with Bayern Munich. Last season, I think they were good and they were effective, but again, they weren't some like swashbuckling team who played some incredible football. Like anyone expecting that, it's not going to happen. In my opinion, it's not going to happen. It's going to be effective football. It'll be better than Southgate's football, but it's not going to be like Pep Guardiola in charge. So yeah, don't expect that, I would say. I will also say that there could be a bit of time to settle in. I'm not sure exactly how well we are going to do as soon as Tuchel comes in charge, because if you look at the past in terms of managers who have done really well in club level coming into international football, most of them tend to struggle early on and then either find out and figure out international football or don't. Now, of course, this is Thomas Tuchel's first foray into international football. And I think if you look at someone, for example, like Luciano Spalletti, who, similar to Tuchel, did really well in the club game with Napoli, went to the national team with Italy. Things didn't really start off too great, they weren't good in the Euros, but recently they've actually been fantastic and are doing really, really well. So, same thing happened with Julian Nagelsmann when he came in. I remember him losing to Austria. Things weren't going great. Go to the Euros and suddenly they started clicking. Equally, he could do that, or it could be like a Hansi Flick situation where maybe he's just not cut out for international football and struggles. So I would actually be quite shocked if Thomas Tuchel straight away comes in and just absolutely hits the ground running. Because I think recent history, that most managers who come from club football to international football for the first time tend to struggle and need a bit of time to bed in. So yeah. Now, a big one as well is in terms of the pressure from the fans and the media. The pressure from the fans and the media, because the England national team job, you get so much scrutiny, it's absolutely insane. Every little thing you do gets criticised. Now, Thomas Tuchel is pretty well versed in this spot. At Chelsea, he has literally worked for some of the worst and most toxic boards I think ever. Chelsea under Abramovich and then under Todd Bowley, and that PSG with their owners Bayern Munich. This guy's been through it, so he knows how to deal with, structural problems, etc. He had to deal with the whole Ukraine Abramovich situation, the takeover, the sanctions at Chelsea, and he dealt with it pretty well in the public. I always thought there's a general consensus in the Chelsea community that he was amazing during this time in terms of, in the public eye, making sure the fans were informed about the situation and putting on a brave face and managing the team effectively during these tough times. But he will get fiery. He will get fiery. Thomas Tuchel has a big edge. He is a charming guy as well. He is definitely a charming guy, and I think hopefully over international football, because he's not involved so much on the day-to-day aspect, he'll keep that sort of charm about him, but he can also get very angry, and when he's angry, oh my gosh, yeah, he's angry, he is angry, and if results don't go well, he gets a bit fiery. He definitely has a fiery edge to him. Maybe he's going to fall out with some of the players, some of the FA, and the whole thing with the fans as well, being German. Look, personally, I don't necessarily care where you're from. I really don't. It is what it is. You're German. I don't really care. You can manage the England national team. It is what it is. I have said though that I prefer an English manager simply because if you look at history in terms of national teams that win, it's always when a home country manager is their manager, because they just understand the culture very well. But I've always said that if you get an international, a foreign manager, you need to make sure that at least they understand the culture and they're good cultural fit. And I think Thomas Tuchel is that through his time in Chelsea. He understands English culture very well. He understands British people very well. So I don't think he'll have too many issues in that aspect, connecting with the fans. And if fans generally have an issue with him being German, that's just completely stupid in my opinion. Now, I want to talk a little bit about some of the winners and losers in terms of who I think could potentially, be in line for some recalls now that Tuchel's in, or maybe be a key player in the squad, and maybe somebody who isn't going to be so trusted. Now, in terms of the winners, look, it might be a bit lazy, but I think it's pretty obvious. Mason Mount, for example, is a player who I think is a winner with his appointment. Now, look, Mount has been pretty bad at Man United. He's been very injured, and when he's played, he's not really been good. But obviously, Mount played with Tuchel in that Champions League run when he was at Chelsea, and Mount, I'll tell you now, was arguably our best player under Thomas Tuchel. so vital to the way we played. So potentially, if Mount just gets to a reasonable level at Man United this season, I wouldn't be shocked if Tuchel called upon him, as a trusted guy, somebody he knows can deliver in his system. Harry Kane. Harry Kane is going to be a winner in any appointment. Really, he's going to play every minute of every competitive game. But it's just a little bonus that, at least for Tuchel, that the captain is most likely going to be on his side because he did manage him last season. He brought him to Bayern, and I assume they have a pretty good relationship. Another player is Ruben Loftus-Cheek, who I think Tuchel was actually a big fan of. He was a big fan of at Chelsea. He actually used him a lot in many different roles. He used him as a number 6, a number 8, number 10. He played in wing back, even played in centre back at some points. He loved Loftus-Cheek, and Loftus-Cheek has actually done really well so far in Milan, a bit of a renaissance. I wouldn't be shocked if Ruben Loftus-Cheek at some point re-entered the fold in the England setup under Tuchel. Another ex-player he had is Reece James. Now Reece James is an interesting one because I think if Reece James, to be honest, generally I think if Reece James was fit for an entire season, he probably would be in the international setup anyways, potentially our starting right back. But now that Tuchel's in charge, and of course Tuchel again absolutely loved Reece James. He used him multiple roles. He used him as a right centre back and a back three. He also used him as a wing back, a right back. He loved Reece James, so I think that's Thomas Tuchel, if Reece James is available and fit, is gonna select him, and he might actually be the starting right back or right centre back. I don't actually know what formation he's going to play at England, but either way, I do think if Reece James is fit and on form, he is now going to be the starter for England under Thomas Tuchel. And if he's not fit, I do also think it'll be Kyle Walker instead, just because I believe he actually tried to sign Kyle Walker last year when he was at Bayern Munich. I think he's a big admirer of him. He can also do the same thing as Reece James, play in a back three in a right centre back role, or play as a right back. So yeah, I think I'll like Kyle Walker a lot. Another ex-player who maybe might enter the fold again if he, definitely not right now, but if he gets a move, Ben Chilwell again. If we use a back five system under Tuchel, he used him as a left wing back at Chelsea, and that was the best spell Chilwell ever had at Chelsea under Thomas Tuchel in that system. So yeah, I think if Chilwell can get back up to speed, he has a shot in terms of getting that left back role or left wing back role. Another ex-player, I promise it'll be the last ex-player because it's a bit of a cop-out, but maybe Eric Dyer. Eric Dyer, he brought him to Bayern Munich last January and absolutely loved him, played him a lot. Maybe Eric Dyer is gonna come into the team. I wouldn't be shocked. And then in terms of moving away from that, I think that basically anyone who can play in the 6 is gonna be a winner. So I'm just thinking Declan Rice, Adam Wharton, Angel Gomez, and Kobe Mainu. Now, the reason I say this is because, it's particularly at Chelsea, but even all of Thomas Tuchel's teams, you can guarantee he will want a DM. He will want a DM. He either goes double pivot or he wants a DM. It's a big thing of his system. At Chelsea, he had Kante and Jorginho, or Jorginho and Kovacic, or Kovacic and Kante or Loftus-Cheek in there. So many options, but it was always a double pivot situation. I also think Dominic Solanke will be a winner. Tuchel really likes his striker to be a bit more of a link-up guy. He doesn't really like that focal point, just stay in the box. Look at how he used Harry Kane for Bayern Munich. He liked him to drop deep a little bit. Same thing at Chelsea. He loved Kai Havertz because he would do that. Even Timo Werner as well. And when we got in a traditional number 9 in Lukaku, we also saw how that turned out. And I think Solanke is somebody who likes to link up play in that. So I think even though he's probably not going to think Solanke is most likely now going to be the number 2 strike option. Bukayo Saka is somebody who, he's going to be a winner anywhere, but I just wanted to highlight that potentially we could see Saka at wing back a couple times more now. It happened a bit at the Euros, but if we do opt for a back 5 system, I think Saka could be one of the wing backs, because Thomas Tuchel, he did that at Chelsea, where he would use wingers for wing backs. He would use Hudson-Odoi or Pulisic as the wing backs. They weren't really wing backs; they were basically just wingers. So if we do go for the back 5, which to be honest I think he's probably going back 4, but if we do, I do think Saka's going to go as a wing back. Fikayo Tomori is somebody who I think is another winner, but this is sort of by default, because whoever came in, I think Tomori would have been a winner, as he was a bit of sort of out in the cold under the last manager, Gareth Southgate. So yeah, maybe Tuchel will actually have a look at him now. Same thing with Ben White again, kind of out in the cold from the last manager, so maybe he's going to get back into the team. Eberechi Eze is somebody who I also think Tuchel will like a lot. Tuchel really likes those sort of number 10s, those sort of Musialas, those Mounts, those Havertz. He does really, really well with those types of players. He likes them a lot. And I think Eze is sort of in that mould. Obviously, with the other players we have in that position, like Foden, Palmer, obviously those guys are all winners, but yeah, I think Eze will also do well. If we also adopt a 3 at the back system, I do think Harry Maguire could potentially be used, because we all know Maguire is actually really solid in a back 3. But if he does go for the back 4, I don't think Maguire is going to be in the team. And in terms of losers, I don't really have too many losers here. It's kind of hard to pick out any, because I can't really explain or pinpoint just yet how he's going to play and what formation. But the main one for me is Trent. I'm not sure if everybody's fit if Trent starts anymore. I'm not sure. Firstly, I don't think we're going to see Trent in Thomas Tuchel England midfield. He didn't like, as I said, Joshua Kimmich in the midfield, because he didn't think he was capable of doing what he asked. The midfield is very important for Tuchel, so I don't think he's going to do the same thing with Trent. And I think if we see Trent, it's going to be as a right back or a wing back. And at right back, as I mentioned, he loves Reece James. Reece James was superb for him at Chelsea. So if Reece James is fit, I think he takes Reece James instead. And then Kyle Walker as well, I think he's very fond of him. So we'll see. Reece James is never really fit, so it's probably between him and Kyle Walker. We'll see what happens there, but I'm not sure about Trent's position in this Tuchel team. And then I guess like some other players who are losers. Personally, I think like Jared Bowen, someone like that. I'm not entirely sure if he's a Tuchel player. Ollie Watkins, maybe. As I said, I think he likes more link-up strikers, so I think Solanke might be the second choice option ahead of him. But yeah, I can't really think of anyone too obvious who's a loser besides Trent, in my opinion. So yeah, those are really my thoughts on the Thomas Tuchel appointment. To summarise, I'm very happy about this appointment. I did not see it coming, but I'm happy we've gone for someone experienced, someone who has a record of winning trophies, somebody who I think fits international football very well. Now, it is a big risk because, of course, he has never managed international football before, but I think it's a calculated risk, and it's a risk I am happy we have taken. As a Chelsea fan, somebody who absolutely adored Thomas Tuchel, I'm so glad that once again I can be supporting TT. And yeah, I hope he can bring us success. I hope he can bring us some success. But yeah, we'll see how he does. Let me know your thoughts on the appointment. Of course, if you're an England fan, I definitely want to hear your thoughts. But even as a neutral, I think as a neutral, I actually want to hear it more, because yeah, maybe I'm a bit biased. I'm probably very biased, as I'm a Chelsea fan and an England fan. But anyways, I hope you guys guys have enjoyed this video, please do leave a like, consider subscribing, and I'll see you in another video.